name is Jerry Fleming. I'm President and CEO of Altigen Communications. Thank you for joining us today for this presentation. And prior to getting into the presentation, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on Altigen. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley, California, and we are a provider of unified communications as a service solutions, which means we offer hosted business communications from the Altigen cloud. Now, just to give you a little background on our company, we are roughly $10 million in revenue as of our FY18 financial year. We have about 60 employees, and we're getting toward the end of our process of migrating from an on-premises phone system vendor to a cloud solutions provider. So really in the midst of a business transformation. Now in a few seconds, I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation, and after that we'll open it up for Q&A. Thank you very much for watching. Hello everyone, my name is Jerry Fleming. I'm President and CEO of Altigen Communications. And I'm here today to present the Altigen story in terms of our business solutions as well as the business opportunities in front of us. So Altigen is a provider of unified communications as a service solutions based on the Microsoft platform, which is a fancy term for hosted business communication solutions delivered from the Altigen cloud. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley, California. We've been in business for about 20 years. We currently have about 60 employees and just completed our fiscal 2018 year at $10 million in revenue. Also, from a stock ownership perspective, roughly 67% of our shareholders are private investors. The other 33% of the stock is owned by myself as well as the management team and Altigen board of directors. So I'll start first before I get into our solutions with our summary financials. And because we're at the halfway point of our fiscal 19 year, I've broken our financials into half-year segments so we can take a look at the progression for the last couple of years. So as you note, the first half of fiscal 19, which for us ended March 31, 2019, we did $5.3 million in total revenue. Out of that number, $3 million in the cloud. Our adjusted EBITDA was just under $1.2 million with net income of $1 million and cash of just under $5 million. And you can see from the slide here how those numbers compare to prior half-year performances. Now, to provide you with a little bit more background on the company, I think it's important for me to first explain, who Altigen is and where we've come from as we're in the middle of a business transformation. So, for the past 20 years that we've been in business, we were selling premise-based phone systems, and premise-based means we delivered phone systems, in this case primarily hardware-based, to customers on-premise, which means in their building. The last 5 years of that time, we've been migrating those customers to the cloud and been delivering those same solutions now as an all-software cloud solution. So what this means, and before I get into some of the other, let's say, benefits of this approach, because I do use some terms that some of the folks watching this presentation may not be familiar with, I just want to go over, when I say on-premise, I do mean a phone system installed at a customer location. When I'm talking about the cloud, that's the Altigen hosted unified communication solutions, hosted in Altigen's data center. When I'm talking about SIP trunks, it might not be a term people are familiar with. That simply means business phone service that we deliver over the internet. And two other terms that I'll probably reference in this presentation. One is PBX. The formal term for PBX is private branch exchange, and what that means is a phone system. And finally, contact center. For those of you who may not be familiar with contact centers, most companies have these as a designated group of people whose job in the company is to take inbound customer calls and respond to calls and requests. Now, what's important when we talk about our business transformation, for me to first reference what I'll call the old Altigen revenue model, which the company was founded upon, and which for the first 15 years of our existence is all we did. And this was delivering a business phone system at a customer premise. We sold everything on a one-time upfront licensing basis. We did have all software at the core, which means on that big server you see in this image, at the core is software driving the functionality, but 90% of our revenue was hardware-based because of all the boards and servers and telephones manufactured by Altigen in that mix. This also meant no recurring revenue for us, and we also didn't include the phone service. We allowed our customers to go out and procure their own phone service. But now, as we've moved to the cloud, this is an entirely new business and revenue model where instead of one-time licensing sales, we have cloud and monthly recurring revenue. Instead of hardware in the mix, it's a complete all-software solution with zero hardware revenue in our financials. And today, as we're going through our transition from on-premises to the cloud, 50% of our overall company revenues are cloud-based, and a total of 90% of our revenues are recurring revenue. And in addition, as we rolled to the cloud model, we began offering the SIP-based internet phone service. So that is also a monthly recurring revenue stream that we've been able to incorporate into our business model. So just to give you a little bit better idea of what hosted unified communications is and how Altigen delivers our solutions, we start with our Altigen SIP trunks, which is the business phone service over the internet, and we connect that to what our MaxCS IP PBX. So again, that is the hosted VoIP solution that Altigen delivers from our cloud. But in addition to delivering our own hosted service, because our solution is all software, we're able to leverage partners to also host our solutions and deliver it from their data centers, targeting their own customers, which gives us much more market reach. So in this case, I show three images here: the Altigen hosted solution, the same Altigen solution, MaxCS IP PBX, which is hosted by Affiliated Technologies and ATS, which is an $18 million managed service provider based in the Northeast. And we also have a very much larger partner, $18 billion in revenue, by the name of Fiserv, which is the world's largest financial services technology provider. Fiserv also hosts MaxCS in their data center and delivers that to their customers as a white label solution. So we're effectively able to target the SMB market, which we consider 10 to 100 employees, with our solutions either delivered by Altigen or through one of our business partners. But in addition to that, because our solutions are all software, many of you may have heard of Microsoft Skype for Business or Microsoft Teams phone system. Both are components of Office 365. And what we've been able to do is take out some of the more interesting capabilities in the Altigen phone system and integrate those in with Skype for Business and Teams. So when a customer decides that they want to go 100% down the line with Microsoft and deploy Skype for Business or their newest solution, Microsoft Teams, still creates a revenue opportunity for Altigen by layering our applications integrated with Skype and Teams, and we're also able to deliver our SIP trunks. And I'll talk about how that manifests itself in terms of market opportunities in just a moment. So going back to our MaxCS IP PBX, I mentioned that Altigen hosts this solution, and today we have nearly 300 cloud customers and over 9,000 subscribers. But we also, from an untapped market opportunity, we have another 1,750 customers that are on-premise with a total of 80,000 users that we're targeting to migrate to our cloud. Now, the significance is when Altigen migrates a customer from on-premise to our cloud solution, the revenue to Altigen is roughly 10 times in the cloud versus on-premise. In the same vein, Affiliated Technology Solutions, who hosts our MaxCS in their data center and delivers it to their customers as an integrated solution, today they have over 250 customers in the cloud and 7,200 subscribers on the Altigen platform. And like Altigen, they have quite a bit of untapped opportunity. They have 3,000 customers using the integrated CRM that they've integrated to, totaling 50,000 users. Fiserv hosts our MaxCS in their data center. They have today on-premise about 20 customers using the Altigen PBX or business phone system, but they also have another 1,700 subscribers in the cloud, and they use our solution for IVR, which is an acronym really for bank by phone. So they have another 2,500 financial institutions using the Altigen bank by phone application. They also are just at the tip of the iceberg because Fiserv has an additional 13,000 customers using the Fiserv core applications in banks and credit unions. and those total 500,000 users. So there's quite an opportunity just on the PBX side to drive into the respective customer bases of Altigen, ATS, and Fiserv to drive significant cloud revenue going forward. Now, I also mentioned Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. So if you're not familiar with these two applications, you'll see the two circled icons in the lower right. Both Skype for Business and Teams are components of Microsoft Office 365. Now, Microsoft Office 365 is the most widely deployed business productivity application in the world. And I'm sure everyone's heard of the Microsoft applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, etc. Those are all components of Office 365, which Microsoft delivers as a cloud service. But Microsoft has done us a favor by including Skype for Business and Teams in Office 365, giving Altigen an opportunity to integrate our applications and our SIP trunk services into those solutions. So, for example, today there are more than 500,000 organizations using Microsoft Teams within Office 365. There are a total of 155 million commercial Office 365 subscribers and another 80 million subscribers using Microsoft Skype for Business Online. So this is the opportunity that we're able to target, adding value with the Altigen applications integrated with the Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. So we get lots of questions on what the competitive landscape is, and UCaaS stands for Unified Communications as a Service. This is a recent Gartner report. Gartner is one of the probably most well-respected industry analysts, in our business. And as you can see from this particular magic quadrant, as Gartner calls it, Microsoft is the leader in this space. And most of those other companies that you'll see listed are either global software or global telecom companies. They don't really have a specific vertical focus, but they all compete directly with Microsoft. So what's the significance here? Altigen, in our approach, integrating with Skype for Business and Teams, we don't compete with these other large companies. In fact, we simply coattail with Microsoft for their integrated solutions. Microsoft competes with these companies, and when they win deals, it gives Altigen the opportunity to win that deal. So essentially, instead of viewing Microsoft as a competitor, we view Microsoft as the beachhead opportunity to sell our solutions into the 155 million subscribers that are using Office 365. And that's where our target is, and that's how we differentiate from the other companies. And I'll just throw out a couple of names. RingCentral and 8x8 simply are not able to integrate with Microsoft because Microsoft has to be the primary platform, unlike Altigen, who is tightly integrated. So I'll turn back to some financial metrics. And as you'll see here, I'm showing the total company revenue by category for the last 4 fiscal years. And I had mentioned that Altigen no longer sells hardware. So those two top of the column areas in red are no longer part of our revenue stream. So while that did negatively impact top line revenue, hardware is not a very profitable business. So from a net income perspective, it was actually quite helpful to stop selling hardware and focus on software and services. And the important line for us is the bottom set of area in these columns. And you can see in FY15 we were doing less than $1 million in cloud revenue, and have grown that to $5 million in FY18. So it's been a great growth rate for us. Going forward, we're focused on continuing to grow that cloud revenue as quickly as we can. So this next slide just gives everyone a picture of our cloud subscriber revenue by the various categories. I had mentioned that we sell solutions for Skype for Business and Teams. We sell our own hosted MaxCS platform as a hosted PBX, and we also have SIP trunk services. So those are the 3 different colors that are represented in the 4 columns. You can see that the lion's share of the revenue today is hosted MaxCS, as we're just getting started with Skype for Business and Teams. But this also provides a great foundation for growth going forward. And at the bottom of the screen, I've also included some of our cloud metrics. We have nearly 600 total customers in the cloud. We're doing just at $683 per month, average revenue per customer, and we have just under 19,000 subscribers, at least as of the end of FY18, on our platform, with average revenue per subscriber at $20.92. And something important to point out here is that in each of these categories, we've consistently grown the numbers year over year. So my final metric slide, I just wanted to point out what the gross churn rate is for Altigen. Today it stands at 4.5%. We calculate gross churn by total revenue churn in the period, which is divided then by the beginning period annual recurring revenue plus the ending period annual recurring revenue, and dividing that by 2 to come up with an average. And that average works out to be 4.5% churn. On a lifetime value basis, each one of our subscribers has a lifetime value of $3,905. And again, if you're not familiar with lifetime value calculations, that's based on annual recurring revenue multiplied by the cloud gross margin divided by the gross churn rate to come up with the lifetime value calculation. Now, a number of companies also track lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. So the LTV to CAC ratio stands at 15.7 for Altigen, which is considerably higher than most of our competitors. And if we take a look at the bottom table on a peer comparison, I had mentioned RingCentral 8x8 earlier, and Five9 also offers hosted contact center. You can see the enterprise value to last 12-month sales for each of these organizations, somewhere between 6 and 13, with an average of 10 times revenues. The cloud growth rate averages 26%, and you can see Altigen below the line at 28% cloud growth rate, but only a 2.2 last 12-month sales ratio. So we're quite a bit lower currently based on our stock price than our primary competitors. So I'll conclude my presentation with a review of the Altigen business strategy and our key strategies. As I talked about earlier, we want to continue the monetization of Altigen's on-premises customer base by converting them to the cloud. And as I mentioned, that is a 10x revenue lift when we do that. We also have an emphasis on vertical market solution providers for new customer acquisition. This is what we've seen with ATS, our MSP reseller that is going after new customers with an integrated solution, as well as with Fiserv that offers the Altigen solution integrated with their software products to differentiate them from the competition. And we'll also continue to focus on Microsoft Teams and Office 365, as Microsoft is just knocking it out of the park with those products, and integrating with those solutions will help us drive UCaaS revenue growth. The final note is, now that we are generating cash and generating cash consistently, we're building out and looking to execute on our capital allocation framework, which can consist of a number of variables in order to drive shareholder value. Okay, so we have a number of questions presented by the Little Grapevine Investor Network, and so I'm going to go ahead and read through some of the questions that have been submitted and provide responses. Number one, as we understand it, a healthy or industry average lifetime value to customer acquisition cost is 3x. Yours stands at 15x. What do you attribute this to, and how has this ratio changed over the last few years? I think the primary driver for us is the high gross margins that we're able to achieve both in our cloud and in the partner-hosted model, because the partner-hosted model is essentially 100% gross margin. We have no hosting costs. And because of that and how we're looking to drive our business forward, we expect this ratio to actually trend upward for the next couple of years. The next question is, what kind of traction are you seeing in onboarding new customers versus legacy customers? Well, approximately 70% of the subscribers we're bringing on board are net new to Altigen versus about 30% that are customer conversions. Next is, which of your 3 product categories is the most profitable? Well, today, that's our third-party cloud solutions. And the reason for that profitability, as I just mentioned previously, is we have 0 hosting costs. So this is an extremely high gross margin business model. When a partner can host and we don't have that hosting cost, that certainly drives margins up. and profitability. Next, how do you get more wallet share once a customer joins the cloud solutions? Really two ways for us. Number one is to drive additional subscribers, which are essentially new employees, into our current cloud customer base. And number two is introduce new solutions. And we do have a number of interesting solutions coming out in 2019 that can be add-on revenue opportunities for Altigen, for our cloud customers. Okay, next up is please take us through a couple of examples of how customers apply your solutions. Okay, so one of those I'll give you with Fiserv, which is, as I mentioned, they sell our business communications solution, our hosted phone system, as a Fiserv solution into their bank and credit union customers. And what Fiserv is able to do is integrate the capabilities of our phone system directly into the Fiserv applications, so they can offer a unique solution to their bank and credit union customers, and they can therefore have automated workflows, integrated bank by phone applications. They can route calls appropriately to their contact center and generally give better customer service by having that complete integration between communications and their business applications. Another example is with our Microsoft solutions. So with both Skype for Business and Teams, which are delivered by Microsoft, Altigen is uniquely able to add both SIP trunks, which again is the business communication service, business phone service, as well as applications. So most of the customers that have deployed, at least in our case, that have deployed Microsoft Skype for Business and Teams, they look for us to those applications, and now they can deal with a single vendor to provide both phone service as well as advanced applications sitting on top of the Microsoft solutions that they use directly within Office 365. Next question is, what untapped opportunity do you see with Microsoft and Fiserv? Well, interestingly, in both cases, we're at a fraction of 1% penetration. So both with Microsoft and with Fiserv, there's a tremendous amount of upside with each of those partnerships. Next question is, what percentage of your target market has made the switch from on-premise to a cloud or SaaS model? Now, that's a good question, and the industry reports do vary, but most of the industry analysts are reporting that today, as of today, in the markets that we serve in the U.S., that roughly 30 to 35% of businesses have migrated to the cloud, and the other 65 to 70% of business still use an on-premise phone system. So there's certainly opportunities both to convert customers that have moved to a competing cloud solution, but even a greater opportunity with the 65 to 70% of the customers that are still on-premise that can benefit from a cloud solution such as Altigen delivers. Okay, next question is, how do you compete against a RingCentral or an 8x8? And I briefly mentioned this in our presentation, and one of the ways we do this is with our vertical market approach. So both RingCentral and 8x8 have many integrations to common cloud products like a Salesforce.com, for example, that most people would have heard of. Two of the integrations that they don't have are with affiliated technologies and their integrated CRM solution, and they also don't have integration with the Fiserv solutions. Those are the two that are most important to us, so that gives us a tremendous leg up when we're competing with a RingCentral and 8x8, in those accounts, because we have the integrations and they don't. Second is Microsoft. By leveraging the Microsoft platform with our advanced applications, that also creates a unique opportunity for us against RingCentral and 8x8, because neither RingCentral nor 8x8 is able to integrate to Microsoft because they're not Microsoft platforms. That's plain and simple. And in fact, if a customer chooses, I'll just add on to that, if a customer chooses Skype for Business or Teams, that eliminates RingCentral and 8x8 as a viable opportunity. They don't do both. But when they choose Microsoft Skype or Teams, Altigen now has an opportunity to go upsell those customers with our solutions. And final question, what do you think is the reason for the value discrepancy you point out that exists between Altigen stock and the stock price of our competitors? Well, that's a good question. I think probably number one is company size. Those customers I referenced, or companies I referenced, are much larger than Altigen. I think they generally would have better name recognition and certainly spend a lot more on marketing. And they also have, they're not listed on the OTC, so they're listed either on NASDAQ or NYSE, which probably gives them access to a wider group of investors. But it certainly doesn't diminish the fact that the value that Altigen can deliver based on our business metrics versus the metrics of those organizations. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, this is Jerry Fleming, President and CEO of Altigen Communications.